Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Almost Anything Goes podcast. I'm your host, Miranda, your stock joy coach, and today we have an amazing lineup just for you. We're diving into stories that are going to inspire resilience, moments of triumph that remind us why you should never give up, why we should never give up. And joining me today for my fantastic co-host, we have Marsé, the rebellious advocate. Hey, y'all. And we have Stacy Shenanigans. Hey, guys. And last, but we know you all, never least, we have Orvin, God's favorite.
I am God's favorite. You know, it's like, no, we in the house. Hey, was everybody ready?
We should say God's favorite and his extra too. Today's episode is again all about resilience, perseverance, and the human spirit's ability to triumph over any adversity. Each of us has gone through challenges in our lives, moments where we felt it was easier to maybe give up than keep going. But guess what we did? We kept going. But what happens when you push past that moment, when you want to give up, where you're just like, no, I can't go forward anymore. But yet you still test that boundary, you push past that boundary. Today, we're going to share personal stories in hopes that it inspires you, our listeners, to keep going forward no matter what. Let's start with Orvin. I know that you have faced some tough challenges in your life, in your career. Tell us about a time when you were on the verge of giving up, but instead of giving up, you decided to push on forward.
It's always easy to want to quit. I'm going to put that out there first for people because we're not going to sit here and pretend. We're not pretenders on this podcast. I don't know about some other ones. We give it to you straight with a chaser, with no chaser. It says almost anything goes. And sometimes obstacles get so overwhelming, so hard that you just want to just throw in the towel. You just want to pretend you're in that boxing match and be like, fight's over and I don't want to do this no more. And definitely working with certain supervisors. And I want to go from a work aspect first before I hit all of it. Check out those previous podcasts because we got some episodes on churches and church hurt, and I can go there too. But I'm going to start out with work first for those who are listening to us today. Working with people is always a challenge. Everybody has their own personality and their way of thinking and their way of wanting to do things and the way they think that things get done. And working on certain projects, I had to be resilient because I can be an introvert, extrovert. What you need me to do at this point in time? I can strategize. I can be a team player. I can do this project by myself. But sometimes you want to treat them like a balloon and pop them and they'll go away. But you shouldn't do that. But sometimes you want to do that because people's personalities can get in the way. But I want to tell you that in my situation, I kept going forward. I kept persevering. I kept not giving in to the anger, not giving in to the discontentment, not giving into the non-compromising, not giving it. We can be here all day, not giving up, not giving in, and keep pushing forward. And it allowed me to grow to different positions, not stay on those same teams and get to better teams. It taught me to keep pushing forward and to help myself go to the next level, if you will. Because it's easy to want to quit, but I personally believe, because it works for me, that something is on the other side that's better. There's a teaching moment in what I'm going through. There's something that may be affecting me, that this thing is temporary. And what I'm going to get through is way better. And I can tell you people like today that I'm better for it. And I've succeeded being in a situation where, because we all have to work if we want to eat, and you just keep on pushing, your better is coming.
Thank you for sharing that. Listening to you, I wonder when you wanted to pop, was there something that just stopped you, or what would you share with the audience if there is someone that's just like, listen, you don't understand God's fate. Look, and this is because when someone is really in their situation, they are like this. They are wrangling their neck because they're just like, you don't understand. Like, You don't understand. They talk to me crazy at work. You don't understand. They treat me really, really bad at work. What would you say to them?
For sake of not having to go in multiple 300 directions with this. First of all, I'm God's favorite. So I can't give you, I have to give you this off the break. I believe in a higher power. I believe in there's something that's bigger than me that can also help me fight my battles or get me out of my battles when I'm going through it. A particular passage I'm going to go back to is don't let the sun go down on your anger. I'm going to put it like that for you. So I have to, these are the 12-step programs, the anger management programs that you all go through that you should really pay attention to. Control yourself. Nobody can control you but you. You the one that can pull a pistol. You the one that can pull a blade. You're the one that can use the weapon. You're the one that can use your mouth. You're the one that can get yourself fired from your job. If you control you in these situations, whatever your anger may lead to, then it will help you to overcome. And it sounds difficult because when you're in it and you want to react. But there will always, I promise you, from experience, from other people's experiences, you will have a consequence to whatever action you put out in the atmosphere. So if you want a good consequence, or you want your boss to look, oh, or Orvin handled that real. He really is God's favorite. Or Sparkle Joy Coach really said the right thing in that situation and she didn't let that thing take her out. Or Marsé did not pop that balloon and that balloon, it just floated away instead of it having to just never be existing again. Whatever the case may be for you, watch how you handle your situation and your actions because there are consequences to them. And you'll be better for it. I'm going to stick on that through this whole podcast today because in the moment, when you're in the heat of the moment, you want to do all types of things. So your mind can go all types of places, but your response is your responsibilities. Your actions are on you and they all have consequences, whether positive or negative.
Thank you for sharing that. Definitely. And what I definitely heard was take your responsibility. I also heard let it go sometimes. It's sometimes, right? You are letting things just go. And sometimes you do need to let that balloon just float off in the distance and maybe pick it up the next day if you can. But if not, then let it float. And why are we shaking our heads, Marsé? Go ahead. Let's talk. That's a hard thing to do. What? Well, to give the wind control? To give like something else? No, that's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
It's true. Yes, it's right. It is. But I didn't survive all of these multiple work positions that I've been promoted from taking the bad approach. So I can only speak. You're right. It is extremely, extremely difficult, especially when you're in higher positions, because I'm sure we have some supervisors and managers on this platform right now. And it's harder to take the tough road, the straight and the narrow. But however, from experience, it has allowed me to progress, to not react on somebody else's not wanting to cooperate, not wanting to compromise, not wanting to be a team player, saying negative things about me, trying to bring me down. It has helped me. I can only speak from my perspective. I haven't failed yet in the sense of me getting to the next level that I wanted to get to because they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop the plan that I believe that God had for me because I didn't choose the bad road. I'm not saying every situation I didn't pop the balloon. I did, but at work, I want to eat.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. And to your point, Marsé, we're not saying that it's not easy. We're not saying that. And I would offer to you all out there, if you do struggle with some of these things, work with someone. Work with someone who is credible, not just your friends. We love our friends, but work with someone who is credible, whether that's a therapist, whether that's a counselor, whether that's a coach, whether that's whatever it is for you, work with someone because you do not have to be in this alone. And if you feel like you can't let go, that could be a trigger to say you need to work with someone. And it does. I say it easily, just let it go. I say it easily, but I've had lots of practice to release control. But I think once you release your ability to control every situation, you become free. So if you want to be free, listen, you got to learn how to release control. It's that you're bounding yourself when you have to have all of that control. But there's topic, another split that we're not going to even jump into today.
And she right. Like, it's hard. Yeah. I'm with her without her foot.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Orvin, and Marsé for jumping in as well. I would love to be able to go to Stacy and Shenanigans Inc. because I know that she is full of wisdom and full of stories. So come on, Shenanigans Inc.
So, okay, y'all see this cool, calm, collected Shenanigans Inc. person, right? You've seen her, right? Well, let me tell you how she got here. She was Orvin's story about how he worked through it and he just persevered. Think of before that point. That's where my story was. Basically, I broke up with a job of, I think I might have been about 5 or 7 years in, and I had to just step back. I couldn't push anymore. I couldn't come in and put on a good face anymore. I was trying to let go, work through it, and I just said, it's time for me to go. Here is my resignation. So the difference in that is I was young. Sorry, I'm still young, y'all. I was younger. And when you think about it, you're invincible when you are a little bit younger than I am now. So you're thinking about, oh, I could make these things happen. And you're really more so, some people said it was all about pride, Stacy, and I was more, no, it was about the principle. And to this day, I'm still saying and stuck going, it's about principle. I get it. Everybody around me was like, do you understand what you just did? What are you doing? What are you throwing away? All because of your pride. And that kind of made me a little bit angry at the people around me because they were not realizing that, listen, I cannot go into a space where I am treated a certain way because these individuals that you have to work with. And some things could have been take accountability. Some things could have been my personality. I might not smooth things over with people when I'm right about things. But anyway, I had to make the decision. It wasn't really based in pride. It was really based on principle. So with that said, I created a situation of hardship. So I had to deal with the self-doubt. I had to deal with the guilt. I had to deal with me questioning my ability, my thought process, and still stand up to individuals that might not have agreed with the steps that I took. So that's, you're finding yourself in that situation. You do need to go through that same process. Get help, talk to people, work it through, learn from the situation. And I jokingly said that calm person that you see today, it did benefit me today because I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't make that move that I made back then. Some people call it a mistake. I call it a lesson. It was a hard lesson that I created because I put myself in a situation like Orvin said, you got bills, you got a house, how are you going to feed yourself? You have family, you can't lean on them. They have their own situation. I had to work through that guilt and talk it through and take some of the lessons from it and then apply those lessons. And that's why I say I wouldn't be where I am today because now I can be in like Orvin's space of thinking, oh, I see this coming. I recognize this train coming down the track. Don't do this because in the past that didn't work for me, or do this. So it was a learning opportunity there too. But it was a hardship that you had to work through and push through and learn from those lessons there. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And thank you for sharing that because, first of all, I'm sitting here, oh, I've known you for a long time and I didn't even know. And so that's interesting. But no, I love it because it's letting people know she made a decision, whether people agreed with her decision or not. She made a decision for her. And she had to grapple with that internally. And a lot of times we make decisions and we're sitting there, did we make the right decision? Did we not make the right decision? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? But this is a prime example to be able to show, even though others may have thought her decision was not the greatest or she shouldn't have made it, she made it. She sat in it. She learned from it. She grew from it. And y'all, I can't tell her business, but she bad. Okay. We'll just say that she's bad. So she is better for that hard decision she made. And I love the fact that she, even though, yes, when we have to fight up against our family and our friends and their thought processes, because everybody got opinions, y'all. Honestly, we got some here, but everybody got opinions. And you're like, at the end of the day, you have to live your life for you first. Okay. Not for your mama, not for your child. And then a lot of times, don't get me wrong, we live our lives for our children too. But not for your mother, not for your father, not for your cousin, not for your sister, you got to live it for you. So I love it. I love it. I love it.
I was just climbing to Orvin's headspace. Orvin is absolutely right in his thought process. It's just that some people aren't there yet, and they should know that they're a work in progress. Don't give up. Fail and try again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect words. Fail and try again, and stop being afraid of failure, you all. People don't try things because they are afraid of failing. Don't be afraid of the word failure. If failure bothers you, change it to another word, but don't be afraid to try. Try something new. Try as many new things as you can. If you can't start with maybe actions, then start with something small. Or when I say actions, I mean, if you can't start with maybe you can't learn how to play the piano today, but you could try a different cheese. You could try a different fruit. You could try. Sometimes you have to get in the habit and make smaller choices and changes before you can make the larger ones. So start with some food choices if that's a problem for you. Try a different food today, whatever it takes. Failure is not a bad thing. We teach our kids that it is, but it isn't. Try something different, and it is okay if you don't like it. Try something else, and it's okay if you don't like that, but you keep moving forward. I don't want to miss out on our rebellious advocate. What you got for us, Marsé? Because we know that you have some triumphs in your life. So what would you like to share?
I think the first thing I definitely want to say is that if your brain chemistry isn't the same as a typical person, this is much more difficult, much more complex. And I definitely don't want anyone to feel like, oh, everyone to feel like you're the only one going through something to the amount it feels. That is okay. And that's like normal. For me, been on, I've been to therapy for most of my life. I think I started therapy in high school and I haven't stopped. But with that, I went to therapy because I've had a lot of trauma in my life and things that I've had to go through, things that I've had to work on in therapy. I spent most of my time doing CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And we got to a point where thankfully my care team realized that it wasn't enough because I'm always having anxiety issues, depression, and things like that since I was young and even into adulthood, which made things a little more complicated for me. So like in my 20s, I'm still in my 20s, but especially in my early 20s, it was a lot of feeling like I didn't belong, that I'm not supposed to be here. A lot of other feelings along that. And thankfully, again, like my care team realized you've been doing this for so long, but you still feel this way. There has to be something more. So thankfully, my care team suggested medication, which has been helpful for me. And I think that a lot of the anxiety that I have, I wouldn't be where I am right now if I wasn't taking medication. And that's okay. And that's something that it took me a long time to realize that medication is fine because it's the chemistry of your brain. That's something that you can't change. You can't work on it enough. There's no skill you can learn to make your brain chemistry right. And with that, a lot of my life has been, unfortunately, me wanting to give up because I didn't know that it was my brain chemistry. And now that I do know that, it makes life a little bit easier. There are still times where I'm just like, no, I don't want this. But then thankfully I have family and I have friends who keep reminding me the temporariness of this all, that it isn't always forever. I did not think that my life would be where it is right now, especially when I was 21. I have worked really hard for the life I have now. But again, understanding that it's through therapy, it's through support, it's through having people just love me, truly, is the reason why I'm still here. And it's hard. We've been saying this all day. It's hard, but it's really about finding a support system and finding people that would do whatever they can to make sure you understand that you are loved and you're supposed to be here. So I think like when it comes to never giving up, I really believe in finding a way to love yourself. So what is it that you really want to do, that you really feel passionate about? What do you love? And holding on to that and reminding yourself that whenever you feel like, I don't want to do this, I don't this, that, all the negative things. It's really about having a support system that just fills you up with positivity and fills you up with the truth. Yeah, there's a lot. I could talk forever about this because this is so much of my life is centered around that feeling of always wanting to not exist because it's easier to just disappear. And unfortunately, that is a technique to just avoid, but it's a real feeling. And I just hope that anyone who feels like that finds a way out of it, whether that is therapy, just having a better support system, talking to a psychiatrist, starting to even talk or look up information about medication. There's so much.
Thank you for sharing that. Listening to you And it sounds like definitely talking to someone, it sounds like having a support
Mhm.
system is so extremely important. Where would a person start? So if someone is listening right now and they are just like, Marsé, that sounds good. Kind of sort of what I was sharing earlier with
Mhm.
Orvin. Yeah, Marsé, the rebellious advocate. Well, I want to rebel right now. That sounds good. I don't have the support system. Good for you that you have a support system, but I do not. And I don't have money to go talk to somebody.
Right.
What would be their hope?
I think I would encourage them to rely on friends. If they don't have friends, it's then the conversation of what can you do to begin to make friends and begin to get to meet people. I resort to isolation, which isn't healthy. Of course, I always want to be alone, but I have come to the understanding of that thought process is not healthy. Humans are communal. We need other people. We need fellowship. We need so much. And even though our first thought is to isolate, we have to push against that. And so for anyone that is in that spot, it really is just like, how can you engage with another human? How can you, there's so many different support groups. There's so many different resources that are available thanks to Google even. And I even think of like Instagram. There's so many communities in Instagram, like on people's followings that are focused on like emotional and mental health and well-being. And there are like groups within that you can join. I definitely will always go there first. But then also, if you have health insurance, reach out, call them, call them. There's so many things that health insurance can offer you that you just won't know unless you look. So I'm thankfully with my health insurance, I'm able to get therapy sessions through online resources for very cheap. But for those that can't, I really do say call your doctor, call your health insurance and things like that. Think about communities, whether that's a church community, like a religious community, or just a community of hobbies, things that you would enjoy. There's always people. There's so many people on earth. There's always someone to connect.
Yeah, I so appreciate you saying that. And that's also why we are here. Not that we are here to be health professionals, because that's not what we're here for, but we are here to really spark this conversation. Almost Anything Goes podcast is here because of you. We want you to know that there are real people out here who are living their lives to the fullest. We have feelings. We are going through some of the very same things, or we've been through some of the very same things that you have been through. And we have so much more to give. And there is so much more in life that even we want to be able to share with you. Did Shenanigans Inc. or God's favorite wanted to say anything?
Yeah, I do. We so often allow you're so gracious to us to host this thing. So but we want you've inspired a lot of people, little ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching. She's a great coach and she's inspired people. She's all over the internet. She's world renowned. I'm even going to call some things that she don't even know yet. She got people flocking to her from all over and she helps women everywhere. Sparkle Joy Coach, do you have any stories that you yourself had anything that you've been through that you would like to share with the group, with the people watching, with the people listening? Because I know you got some stuff. You inspired a lot of people.
I have lots of things. Let's see. I'm going to share two things without sharing super, super details. However, I think it's important because we don't necessarily, uh, ladies of a certain age, once you have had your children, you move on and you are in another part of your life. And you forget that there are up and coming mothers out there and things of that nature that still need some inspiration. And when you have walked through some of the things that you've walked through, we have to remember to go back and share. So I'll share one of those stories. I remember there probably hasn't been anything that I honestly haven't probably unfortunately dealt with that I haven't had to overcome. I've had to overcome suicide. I've had to overcome suicidal thoughts. I've had to do all of that, even when I had my child. And it was, what do you do? What do you do when you don't want to live? What do you do when life is horrible, when things aren't lining up, things don't look like they're supposed to look like you thought that they were going to look, but you have this child and you don't want to live. You have this child, you don't want to live. You have this child, you don't want to live. And then you have to say, children are a miracle. And so for me, I've always had to retrain my brain to think differently. So it really, for me, is a retraining. And I have just over the years, literally retrained my brain to think differently. And so it was Do I give up? But if I call this a miracle, if I call the birth of a child a miracle, and to me that meant God graced me and I am supposed to, God has entrusted this child to me, I have to do the best. So I can't give up right now. Maybe we'll put that on the back. Now, y'all, this is me in my brain. I'm going to put that on the back burner because guess what? If I said this child is a miracle, because I ain't never even want to have kids, and if this child is a miracle and this is God's child and you don't want to give up, I don't got time for that right now. For me, I had to put, I don't got time. I got to do this thing right here. And so I eventually was able to distance myself enough where I got to focus on this child. But guess what? I also got to focus on being the best version of me possible. And so each day I just put a little bit more distance from the thought of suicide, the thought of wanting to die, the thought that, oh my gosh, can I really hope and dream? Can I? Oh, it would be nice to live in a house. It would be nice to have a better job. What if I actually woke up every day and wanted to wake up? And honestly, I am a true piecemeal story. I pieced it all together. A lot by the grace of God and by hard work. Pieced it together day by day, day by day, day by day. Sometimes, y'all, it was minute by minute, minute by minute, minute by minute, minute. And then sometimes I had a whole month and I didn't think about anything. Oh my gosh, I've made it a year. Oh my gosh, I am here. You all, don't give up. Don't. We've all shared something. Hold on to whatever that glimmer of hope is for you, whatever that glimmer of what it could be like. Just because it looks like it does today, it does not have to mean that's what it's going to look like tomorrow.
Well said.
Listen, you all, what I love about these stories is that they really show the resilience. It just isn't about enduring pain. It's about the growth. It's about finding strength in unexpected places. It's about never forgetting your circumstances. Don't let them define you. What you went through yesterday does not have to be your today. What you're going through today does not have to be your tomorrow. None of this stuff has to define you, whether it's a career setback, whether it's a personal challenge, or whether you're figuring out your purpose on in life. Resilience, perseverance, it really can carry you through. Think about it. For some of you who are working, your job has resources. Like, for instance, I know that on my 9 to 5, we have an employee assistance program. Go to your HR. So if you're working, go to your HR. Ask them what programs do they have to offer at your job. Because if you don't have health insurance, sometimes they do have specific programs. And if not on your job, look up your state. Go to your state website. I am sure there are programs there as well. What about you, Orvin? What would you like to share?
I'm yes, yes, yes to everything you just said. And I want to remind people out there how important it is that there is no right time for success except for the time that you're in being successful. I want to remind people that it's never too late to do it. You can do whatever you want, anytime you want. You can be 65. I was out with friends yesterday and I'm like, oh, I might want to take up the piano. Look, it's never too late to do. Don't let your age or where you are right now define what you want to accomplish. And I want to remind people that to never give up. Never give up and quit. Don't worry about giving up, failing. Okay? I know it sounds complicated, but it's not. You can fail. They said it earlier. You can fail. I'm one of those people out there that she mentioned that I don't like the word failure. I love the word success, but I don't like to see the failures. I've read books on there to help me understand it, to help me accept it, to help me to go through it. And I need to be reminded, even today, like when you're watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, that you should be reminded that it's okay to fail. You have another opportunity to try, so never give up. Okay?
I love that.
Good stuff. Totally agree with what you said, Orvin, there. And just no matter what you're going through, Just remember there are others that are going through the same thing. There's someone out there that understands you. You just have to reach out to them, find that person, talk to people, connect with people.
Age does not limit your potential. Even no matter what, if you're still breathing, you have time to make something amazing happen. You have time to make change. Even if you are someone who brain chemistry isn't all there, there's still time. There's time to get resources. There's time to learn more about it. There's time to research. There's time to take tests. There's time for so much. There's so much that can happen. I definitely want to encourage everyone to reach out to somebody. Even if you don't think they've been through what you've been through, still reach out. Tell someone that you're struggling. Call someone. I literally last week called my family crying because I was just like, I can't do it anymore. And they encouraged me. They brought all my spirit back to me. So please reach out to somebody.
No matter what you're going through, always remember there's someone that has been through it, someone that you can reach out to and speak with. Additionally, use your resources. Tap into those resources. EAP, we mentioned to you. Your circle of friends are always a resource. Don't be too embarrassed to tell your story. If they're your true friends, they will understand and accept you and encourage you as well, too.
I love that. Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone, for that. That's the message that we want to leave with you today. Never give up. No matter what obstacles come your way, you have the power to overcome them. If these stories inspired you, we'd love to hear from you. Follow us on social media. Drop us a comment or a message with your own story of resilience. We would really, truly love to hear that. And always, let's keep these conversations going.
If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to this podcast, Almost Anything Goes podcast, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it today, because a lot of us need to hear this.
We're all together, and the more we share, the stronger we'll all become.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Please keep pushing, striving, and remember, your breakthrough is just right around the corner. Thanks again for joining us on the Almost Anything Goes podcast. We hope you leave feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to take on whatever comes your way. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring. See you on the next Almost Anything Goes podcast. Bye, y'all.